Mr. Young, thank you so much for being here today. It is an honor to have you here on Fairfax Gateway today. So I'm going to start asking you a few questions in the first group, and the second group is going to be a really fire questions really quick so you can have an answer for that.
Okay? Sure thing. And thanks for inviting. Keller Williams is a very important brokerage in the overall the real estate competitive world. So thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Mr. Young, what are the biggest barriers to increasing housing supply, and what solutions are most viable?
Well, one thing that we have noticed is that in the past, the mortgage rates are very important for home sales, common sense, job growth is important. But in the recent housing cycle, it appears that housing supply is very important because we have had a constraint in home sales due to lack of supply. Mm-hmm. Only if we had more inventory, we could have gotten more sales done. Now, good thing is that worst in the inventory condition is pretty much over. We are seeing growth in inventory, more in the Northern Virginia area, in Maryland suburbs, because we are finding that the builder activity from a long period ago is beginning to show up as existing home inventory now. And furthermore, homeowners who have been in their home for a long period, maybe they have those lovely 3% mortgage rate, 4% mortgage rate, but some people need to move. They have a new job, maybe they are retiring, or maybe they have additional child in the family and they need to move up to a larger size home. So for a variety of life-changing events, we are seeing more inventory come onto the market. So first, there is this natural force of increasing inventory. But the other part is policy measures. Certainly, anything to bring about more construction activity, that's more business opportunity, but also future supply of housing. So it just all the barriers, unnecessary barriers that prevents housing supply, well, we need to remove that because supply is so important in the current cycle.
Absolutely. So what do you foresee for housing prices and inventory in the next 6 to 12 months?
As you know, Miguel, the Northern Virginia market has been quite competitive, especially a couple of years ago when the interest rates were low, multiple offer becoming very common. But now that we are beginning to see more supply on the market, we should not expect prevalence of the multiple offers. I think there will be an opportunity for the buyers to take a little more relaxed approach on some homes. Now, homes that is priced competitively, they will still draw multiple offers. But given we have more supply, one should not anticipate, say, double-digit price appreciation. I think the price appreciation will be in the mid-single digits. In the greater District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia, I would say the Virginia area has a little more edge. There appears to be more people moving into this region. And consequently, if anything, price strength would be a little better here compared to other parts of the DMV market condition.
Oh, that's great news. So how do you expect the Federal Reserve's monetary policy to influence mortgage rates this year?
In the past, when the Federal Reserve lower interest rate, mortgage rate goes down. And when the Federal Reserve raises interest rate, mortgage rates goes up.
Right.
However, this from the September is when the Federal Reserve began to cut interest rate. In fact, they have cut interest rate by 4 rounds, meaning that, quarter point cut. So 4 rounds of rate cut, yet mortgage rates are now higher compared to when the Fed began to cut interest rate, which is a demonstration, first, that Federal Reserve does not control mortgage rate. They can try to influence indirectly, but there are other factors, things like inflationary pressures, inflationary expectation, or even government debt. When government borrows a lot of money, that leaves or is eating up private capital, including money that could have gone to the mortgage market, and therefore the mortgage rate has actually risen ever since the Federal Reserve started cutting its short-term interest rate. But I expect that once the inflation fears goes away, that mortgage rate will trend lower. So in 2025, possibly from spring onward, the new normal in mortgage rate should be about mid-6 or possibly even 6% range.
Okay, that's all right. So, Mr. Young, how has the current economic climate impacted first-time home buyers, and what can be done to support them?
That's a very great question because one of the most depressing statistics from last year, 2024, the median age of a first-time buyer would generally associate with people in their late 20s or early 30s when they buy. Well, the median age reached 38 years old. That's the highest we ever experienced, which is showing great challenges for the first-time buyers. So what can we do to alleviate? Well, you are raising very important question. First, we need more supply, especially the starter home market. Sometimes the federal government can assist in terms of tax credit incentive to build more affordable price homes. I know that Virginia State Legislature is working on some of the grant or first-time buyer, some kind of tax credit to enter if they meet certain qualification. But it's really about bringing supply to the market. From the beginning, you talked about the supply. Well, to address first-time buyer, focusing a little more on building affordable price homes will help. But even just overall supply will lessen the price growth pressure because incomes are right now rising about 4 or 5%. So a few years of income outpacing home price growth, there will be a healthy development.
Well, that's good news, definitely. So are there any specific regions or cities in the DMV experiencing notable growth or decline? And what's driving these changes?
The downtown D.C. market has been much softer. I think this was part of the remote work that came about from the COVID lockdown and onwards. I work in the D.C. office, so every time I go, it's definitely much calmer compared to pre-COVID traffic jam days. But that's implying that people are living out in the suburbs or even the next county because that's one can get more affordability. And also for the first-time buyers, if they're willing to commute longer distance, where the affordability is in the next county condition, but home price appreciation has been more stronger in the outlying regions. Now that we are beginning to see some degree of return to office work environment, we may see a little change there, but so far it was the outer regions that was doing better compared to more inner ring suburbs or in the downtown DC.
Yeah, it makes sense. So what macroeconomic risks, inflation or recession, should real estate professionals and homeowners be aware of?
For generally speaking, homeowners wants to assure that they have jobs because right now we have historically low foreclosure rate, and that's a good thing because we're much below historical average because we keep adding jobs to the market. I know for some people they lose job, but they are able to find another job quickly. So this is preventing any increase in foreclosure situation. But overall, I would say what people need to monitor is the movement in mortgage rate. Mortgage rate goes up, it's going to make affordability a challenge. And the other part is whether or not we get growth in supply because especially people who are looking to buy, they definitely want more choices. But people who want to sell, if they wrongly price their home too high, but maybe there's more supply, not recognizing there is more competition with other home sellers, and they misprice their home, it will sit on the market for long. And our analysis show that if home is sitting on the market for more than 2 months, they're doing quite a deep discount to attract buyers. So price the home correctly. And of course, we know that professional realtors are very good at advising those points.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So what advice would you give to real estate professionals navigating a market like that, a volatile market, for example?
To definitely keep up with the economy, keep up with, how much inventory, at which price points are the inventory coming onto the market. And even the absorption rate, maybe the absorption rate is the quickest on the mid-price range in Northern Virginia. It could be a $500,000 price range. So look at all those trends. But on a day-to-day, one of the first things that I do in terms of looking at economic data is look at what the 10-year Treasury yields are doing because mortgage rates are generally priced off 10-year Treasury yield. So if the 10-year Treasury yields are higher, the mortgage rate will be going up. So at least realtors would have mindset, well, my client qualified for a mortgage, but hopefully they can still maintain that condition at the time of the signing of the contract because 10-year Treasury movement, generally speaking, is a small movement on a day-to-day, but there are at times which it could make quite a large jump either upward or downward.
So what recent or upcoming policy changes could have the biggest impact on the real estate market?
From NAR is lobbying to assure that the capital gains exemption, we know that people who sell their home, there's a capital gains exemption.
Right.
But if one exceeds that, then there's a tax implication. $500,000 for a married couple, $250,000 for a single individual that people are well aware of. But given the price increases in Northern Virginia, DMV market, we have seen many homeowners surpassing those limits.
Yes.
And some people do not want to sell their property for that reason. So NAR is advocating to Congress to say, look, this figure of $250,000, $500,000, it was established more than 25 years ago.
Yeah,
and it has not changed. Even the price of hamburger has risen, price of movie tickets have risen, price of everything has risen. Can we just index to inflation? And if that's the case, we're just making the fairness argument. Then more home sellers, when they sell their property, there would not be a tax implication and hence feel much more comfortable listing their property because we want more listing in the marketplace.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. So I have quick questions for you. So what's the most unexpected thing that you learned in your career?
One thing is expect the unexpected.
Unexpected, okay.
The foreclosure crisis, certainly, there was some concern whether or not there was a housing market bubble. During the bubble, it's really hard to see. But then, one realized, wow, the people were getting mortgages without showing income documentation. Lenders were just giving out loans right and left. And then we had that foreclosure crisis. Now, luckily, there are many ready buyers after 1 year to pick up those foreclosed property on the cheap. And they have done quite well, by the way, by purchasing those property on the cheap and now with a strong price recovery. And then you look at, COVID was completely unexpected. People thought we may encounter another foreclosure crisis. Well, what do you know? We had a housing shortage. And because of a housing shortage, home prices actually firmed up during the COVID period. So every day is a new information, especially from economists, as we look at all the economic data. So now, from economic perspective, nothing surprised me. I just hope that we don't encounter some bad negative economic data that hurts housing market.
It's very similar to the career of a realtor, right? Like we expect the unexpected. That happens all the time.
Yes.
So what's one habit that you've picked up that has significantly impacted your life?
I think, one other thing is I enjoy walking, hiking, just being out in the nature. But I heard through some of the academic journals that walking actually stimulates some of the brain cell activity, so brings out some ideas which may not have occurred just sitting down on the couch. So fortunately, I enjoy walking in it. Sometimes I listen to maybe a podcast, and I hope the audience are enjoying this podcast part.
Me too.
Yes. So, everyone, I think, should pursue what they enjoy. And, there's a side benefit that also stimulate perhaps some brain level activity.
Right. So if you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be and why?
Well, that could be many, many people, but if I have to choose one, I would choose Thomas Jefferson. And the reason for that is I remember John F. Kennedy, when he was president, he was at the White House. He invited all the Nobel Prize winners in the United States to join him. So he had his dinner, but he made this remark. We have the highest level of the academic smarts in this room or in the White House, other than perhaps at the time when Thomas Jefferson was eating his breakfast alone. But my son went to University of Virginia, so I also got to know a little more about Thomas Jefferson history, and he was paradoxical. He has been an inspiration for many developing countries from Africa, Asia, to say, the pursuit of happiness. But at the same time, he was in a personal debt. So even though he wanted to free his slave, he just could not because of the personal debt situation, which, is a moral conflict, contradiction. So just to ask him, if he were in better situation, because there's this taint on his legacy because he did not free his slaves. But, his intellectual and the promotion of the democracy, that was quite unique at that time period.
That's really cool. Yeah. So what's something that always surprised you about the work you do?
The work that I do is, I enjoy talking with the realtors because they're on the ground, they're looking at, and sometimes, realtors are coming from all different backgrounds. Some people say, I was a teacher before I became a realtor. I was an airline pilot, or, so many different variety. So just, knowing people have variety of background. And, one of the things about realtors is that there are 1.5 million members, all with different background, but they are truly representative of America. Some people serve the underserved community, other people serve on the luxury market. So given this variety, I really enjoy the aspect of able to interact with so many people from different backgrounds.
Right. So what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
For my younger self, I would say that first, go out of the comfort zone, because I was very shy. I was into the books and less into the people, because that was my comfort level. Then over time, what I learned is that, for the real world, it's about engaging with people, and there's a benefit that automatically coming from that. And the second is, I'm an immigrant. My parents came from South Korea, so I had to learn English when I came to the country. And I wish my English at my younger age was much better back then, because there's so much opportunity in terms of ability to read book, comprehend so many things. But so it took me a little longer, but I'm glad I have no regrets.
Oh, great, awesome. My last question for you will be: what advice would you offer to a real estate agent?
For the real estate agent, I think first is that it's a very competitive industry, as we know, but it's an 80-20 rule, or maybe even 90-10 rule, which is to say that 20% of the agents are doing 80% of the business. I always admire people's entrepreneurial spirit and wanting to give it a try, but the reality is really the 20% of the realtor who truly succeed in real estate, making six-figure gross commission income. So the business opportunity is there. Some people have the right connection, other people have the right business model, but the fact that it is an entrepreneurial business where people can come up with their own creative ideas about how to advance into the next level. But given that right now the market is turning for the better, we are seeing increased home sales from 1 year ago. And with the sizable pent-up demand, with continuing job creation, first-time median age, 38. Well, that's not because they are delaying on purpose. They're delaying because of the opportunity, but now with the opportunity begin to improve, meaning more inventory, mortgage rate, I think will settle down at around 6%, continuous job creation. Is a much better business environment for the realtors as they go into 2025, but understand that 80-20% rule. Get that extra learning, make an extra contact with the next person to be in that 20%.
Mr. Young, it's been an honor having you here. Thank you so much. Right? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.